Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is directed by George Miller and stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth. In this film, we follow the story of Furiosa as she grows up to become the Imperator that we know of in Fury Road, and we explore her rivalries with the Immortan Joe and Chris Hemsworth's villain character. Now, coming out of Fury Road, this movie has a lot to live up to. Fury Road is considered one of the best all-time action films. So following up that movie, you have a tall task. But I think George Miller did a good enough job at differentiating himself from Fury Road while exploring a new character in this Mad Max world and having us be more compelled of Furiosa as a character, having us care about her even more once Fury Road comes in the next Blu-ray player, and you are feeling a lot more immersed with the story being told, because Furiosa is another damn good entry into this world of Mad Max. Anya Taylor-Joy is a superstar that I've been watching since I first saw her in The Witch, and I've always liked her as an actress, but I never really got a sense for her being an action type of actress, like someone who could do a lot of fight sequences. But here in this film, she is fantastic. She doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but her eyes, her movements, her visual expressions, and how she carries herself throughout the entire film is great. What we also didn't expect in this film was that Anya Taylor-Joy's part is not until the later half of Furiosa. In the first half, we explore a little girl Furiosa growing up with Chris Hemsworth's villain character. In the first half of the film, we explore a lot of Dementors trying to take over Gastown, the Bullet Farm, and the Citadel, trying to make his way up to reach those rings and control a lot of the desert around him. He is someone who is just power hungry, and while that may seem a bit one-dimensional, Chris Hemsworth's relationship to Furiosa and how he carries himself throughout the entire film made him very interesting as a character, especially with his interactions with the Immortan Joe. Despite how brief they are, he showcases a lot of versatility with this role, and he genuinely does feel threatening, and you absolutely hate him for what he did to Furiosa in her childhood. And because we care about Furiosa and from the beginning of the film to then later on when we see her grow up, the whole conflict between these two characters feel very compelling, which then leads us to the action sequences of the film. And while they are not as varied as the action in Fury Road, they are still really cool. The stunt work is great, the practical effects being used are really good still, the cinematography is beautiful, the action is extravagant. There's a lot more visual effects heavy sequences here, but they are not terrible. They just feel like they are CGI, and you feel like something is like green screen at times, so it doesn't feel as real as Fury Road. But that is not to say that they're done poorly. There are a few effects here though that do not look rendered that well, but for the most part, the CGI here still looks pretty good, and it never took me out of the experience of the film. This movie had a really good soundtrack too, though I will say it feels way too familiar to Fury Road, and I think that's where my biggest problem with the film lies, is that while it is great, the action is great, I care about the characters and the story, whenever there is something that is similar to Fury Road, it feels way too similar, especially with the music and the visuals and cinematography. I love that this franchise always felt different with each installment, but this is the one that feels way too similar to his predecessor. So I felt like if they could have fixed that up and made this film feel a lot more different in terms of its visuals, I would have really loved this film. And even if they picked up the CGI, I think this would have been another all-timer for the franchise. But as it stands now, it is a very good entry, good effects, good action, good characters, great acting. This is still a really good entry into the franchise, and one that I would highly recommend. This is just not as good as Fury Road, or even the Road Warrior, but it's just on par with the original Mad Max in my opinion. So for that, I'm going to give Furiosa an A-. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.